What's up, all you Kevins? I'm out here again at a big, huge Mustang show, and I found my buddy Brian Tone. And we have a car here that you guys are going to love to hear about. The stories on this one, unbelievable. Check it out. Brian, how's it going, man?
Good, how you doing?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, good to see you.
So I was racing American Iron in a 93 Cobra along with a gentleman named Mark Wilson, and we were in 2003, I believe, and we got together because we were both out of Michigan, both engineers at Ford, and we said, hey, let's pull some resources together and let's build a new car to the full breadth of American Iron rules. So we purchased a body in white at Ford. It was blue, this blue, so it was meant to be a Mach 1. And we enlisted help with a friend of ours named Dan Cantrell, and Marianne as well, she helped. So we took our body in white and we started removing everything that wasn't needed. It took us 9 months to build the car, and during that time frame we enlisted the help of Kenny Brown. Kenny was kind enough to offer us an IRS package for the rear of the car, which nobody in American Iron at that time was running an IRS. So he was generous enough to give us an IRS and his K-member and front end suspension. Most of the cars in American Iron at the time were running some sort of Griggs or Maximum Motorsport, torque arm, Watts link, torque arm, Panhard bar. And coming from that background, in talking to Kenny, we knew there'd be an advantage going to the IRS. And the advantage was it was going to handle better, it was going to turn better, it was going to brake better. All around, should produce faster lap times, and in a race car, that's all we really care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the car debuted in 2004, I believe. We did very, very well in the car. We won some races, we lost some races. We had some competitors upset because of the IRS. At the time, Kenny's rear upper control arms needed a small notch in the upper frame rail of the rear. And so we notched it, so at full jounce there would be no contact between the upper control arm and the frame rail. And in doing so, we received permission from NASA leadership at the time, the technical director for American Iron actually, though when the car debuted there was controversy about the upper control arms. Ultimately, they allowed us to run the car for a year, though the next year NASA leadership came out and outlawed all modifications to the geometry of an IRS, meaning the pickup points had to be the same as OEM on an IRS if you're going to run it in the car. We argued the point because, as you may or may not know, when you add a torque arm and a Watts link, essentially what you're doing is you're changing all of the pickup points and all of the kinematics. And so it was very disappointing to lose the argument with NASA that the car couldn't be run anymore because of a modified IRS. Although it shows the capability of what a properly set up IRS and car can do. The car's very fast. I believe that in the next couple of years in American Iron we would have dominated. Kenny's is great.
Yeah.
It does really, really well. The car handles like no other Mustang around until probably the modern generation. But this is 20 years ago we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So show us the inside of this car and tell us about that. What all have you done?
So the inside of this car is nothing but race car. It is a roll cage predominantly of 1 3/4 by 090 1020 mild steel with smaller bars as allowed. So some of the key components are the remote pedals. We've mounted them on the floor. There are no power brakes. It's a manual brake setup, and running these allowed us to relocate the driver's seat approximately 14 inches to the rear. And in doing so, we made a remote shifter for it. And the cage is designed very much like a early 90s Trans Am car. Lots of triangulation. It's very, very stiff. The seat for safety is moved inward, so as you look at it from the angle where I'm standing, you see how much room there is in a side impact. We took a lot of details. You'll notice all the wiring is very, very clean. We wanted to build a clean race car. We wanted this to be a showcase. Really, ultimately, what we were trying to do is build the best looking car in the country, which I think we achieved at the time and maybe today. Because of the IRS, you know, it doesn't have the full axle tubes like a solid axle car. It has a limited volume of differential oil. This car runs a Torsen with a 373, I believe. And so we installed a differential cooler, which at the time there weren't readily available kits. So in working with Kenny, we came up with a kit to duct outside air via just a Butler NACA duct all the way through with an inline ducted fan to a remote cooler, which is mounted on the floor pan of the car and discharges under the car. So it's got an air intake as well as a powered fan. We figured out that when we're running the car, we don't need the fan, but in the pits, like if you come in after, you want to run the diff cooler and the fan in conjunction to keep the temperatures down. Which is a Cobra R style front splitter. This one happens to be carbon. We installed much larger brakes and wheels, so this has 18-inch wheels on it now with 14.5-inch brakes, which at the time were not legal in American Iron, but the car right now is just a badass track car to go fast with, so I throw the brake at it good.
Gotcha. Very cool. What wheels are these?
These are CCWs, which they're 3-piece, they're aluminum, they're extremely light. I think they come down out of Florida, I believe. They are 18 by 10.5.
Square setup?
Yeah, square setup front to rear.
Yeah, nice.
Yep. The rear brakes are your standard 11.5-inch 0304 Cobra brakes.
Okay, nice.
Just put it on top of that red one.
Sure. So this engine, as it sits now, is a little bit different than what we ran in American Iron. In American Iron, we ran a 331 stroker motor. To meet the rules, we were looking for area under the curve to limit horsepower and to limit torque, but to maximize the car to the rules. That motor's gone. This is a 363 Ford racing motor. I believe they listed at 525 horsepower or so. It's a low RPM motor. I think I shifted about 6,200 RPM in this. It's set up with some really trick stuff. It's got oilers at the top of the valve train on it. It's got remote filter. It's got a remote thermostat in it. A huge radiator that you can't see, but when you can't see from the side is the whole thing is angled a bit. That's how we're going to fit a very large, almost 4-inch wide radiator in it. The oil cooler is also 4-inch wide by 28 inches, or 4 inches deep by 20 inches wide. On track here in Georgia, this car will run 180 degrees and 225, 230 degrees of oil all day long in August and September.
Wow.
Another neat piece about this, we ran a motor plate. So there's a plate that sits in front of the water pump, or behind the water pump, that bolts to the frame rails, both front and rear. The rear is a mid plate right there. You can see it's got that weird bend in it. So there's no conventional engine connection to the K-member on this car. It's bolted solid.
That is unique.
This car right now is equipped with some Kook stainless steel headers. They're big. I think they're 1 7/8, and they funnel down to an X pipe that we built into a boom tube style NASCAR exhaust.
Yeah, so tell us about this, because I've actually never seen this.
It's a remote jump setup for the battery. So if the battery is a hot summer day, let's say, and it's got a little bit of heat soak and it doesn't want to crank because it's got a really little Dynabat battery, and I think it's about 11 pounds. We've got an external battery sitting in the pit. Now you've got a jumper essentially.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Ma'am, it's gonna get loud there in a minute. Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to say, just give me a warning.
Thank you.
Like a race car.
The last track event I ran it at, we ended up picking up a rock into the oil cooler. So I had to tear the oil cooler apart. And the other thing that's really interesting about this car that I've never had with any other car, which goes to really talks about how amazing the rear of this car is with Kenny Brown keeping it level for braking,
Yeah.
is that coming into turn 10 at Road Atlanta, it would brake hard enough, fast enough, or fast and hard enough from 160 miles an hour that even with a baffled Canton oil pan on it, we would drop pressure way low to my liking. So we installed an AccuSump with it.
Yeah.
So now it's hopefully bulletproof. I don't want to say it, but
Yeah.
it should be bulletproof.
Man. So you're going to have this thing out on the track here soon, aren't you?
Yeah, we plan on running some track events in November. We're trying to fit some in October.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Brian, appreciate you bringing the car out to the show today. Thanks for telling us all about it. Great stories. All the shout outs to everybody. Thanks a lot for being on the channel, and
Yeah.
I think you have an awesome car here. I can't wait to see it on track.
well, we're gonna run the Walter Mitty next year in this, the vintage
Right.
race.
Okay,
and see how
nice.
it goes, and then
That'd be awesome.
We're gonna go to Barber for the, I don't know, what is it, 60th?
Yeah.
60th Mustang
Yep.
Club. We're gonna go to Barber and
Yeah, I'll be there. That'll be awesome.
take.
Well, man,
take it-
thank you so much for showing us the car.
Absolutely. My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.